In the first half of our chapter, we've been working with different shapes. So we've worked with parallelograms, trapezoids, circles, triangles. So the thing that all of those shapes have in common so far in the chapter is that they are all two-dimensional or flat shapes. So when you take your quiz over the first half of the chapter, everything on that's going to be two-dimensional shapes. The second half of the chapter, we're still going to work with some different geometric shapes, but now we're going to work a little bit with three-dimensional shapes. So today's lesson, the goal is to introduce you to some basic vocabulary and different types of three-dimensional shapes before we start looking at different calculations that we can do with three-dimensional or 3D shapes. 3D shapes can be classified in different ways. Some 3D shapes, all of the different sides of the shapes are polygons. So remember, we said that a polygon in our last chapter is a closed shape with straight sides. So a circle is not a polygon because the sides are not straight. So if all of the sides of the shape are polygons, then it can be classified into one of two things. It's either going to be a prism or a pyramid. So we're going to take a minute and we'll look at some examples so you can see what they actually look like as well. But we're going to talk through what things make a prism and what things make a pyramid. So a prism, the way you can kind of tell a prism and a pyramid apart. So a prism will always have two parallel. So that means they're running the same direction as each other and they'll never touch. So two parallel, congruent, so that means they're exactly the same size and the same shape. Polygons. Oop, I forgot my Y. Polygons. So that will make up two of the faces or the sides of the shape. And then the remaining sides are all going to be rectangles. So all of the sides that are running between those two parallel sides are rectangles. So remaining sides are rectangles. So where a pyramid is different than a prism. So a prism has a bunch of rectangular sides that are connecting two parallel congruent shapes. So maybe they're both rectangles or they're both triangles or they're both pentagons, and then everything between that is rectangles connecting those together. A pyramid, if you think of, well, a lot of people when they think pyramid, they think like Egyptian pyramid. So an Egyptian pyramid is a mathematical pyramid shape. So the difference between a prism and a pyramid is that a pyramid has a point on it. So a pyramid is always going to have triangular sides that meet at a point. So that's a big feature of a pyramid that a prism doesn't do. So triangular sides that meet at a point. Or if you want to be really geometric, you say they meet at a vertex, because vertex is the fancy geometry word for point. But we'll say point so that you remember what it is. So triangular sides that meet at a point. And then the base of all of those triangular sides, that base is going to be a polygon. So the base of all the triangles make up a polygon. So it has a polygon where a polygon formed by the bases of the triangles. So one polygon. Formed by, we're going to go outside the box a little bit, that's okay, bases of triangles. So there are different types of prisms and there are different types of pyramids because they can come in different shapes. So we can actually name them. So we could say this is a prism or this is a pyramid, but we can also name them based off of the different shapes. So how you name a prism, so you name a prism based off of the two parallel congruent polygons. So that's how you named it. So you base the name. It's based off of whatever shape those are. So it's based off of the shape of the two parallel congruent polygons. So a pyramid, its name is based off of, oh, and those, we're going to rewind. So those two parallel congruent polygons, so maybe you've got two parallel triangles that are being connected together. Those are called the bases of the prism. So a prism will always have two bases. A pyramid will only have one base, and its base is that polygon that's being formed by all of the bases of the triangles. And that shape is also how we name a pyramid. So it is based off the shape of the polygon formed by the triangle bases. And again, we're going to actually look at some shapes so you can kind of put the picture with the words to help you make sense of what we're writing down in just a minute. So prisms and pyramids, all of the sides of those shapes are all polygons. So a prism or a pyramid does not have any circular sides because circles are not polygons. There are some three-dimensional shapes that use circles though, and those get their own names. So if you were to take, it's basically the circular version of a prism. So if you were to take two parallel circles and connect them, so you think like, you know, a can from your kitchen or, you know, a can of Pepsi, or I mean, cans are basically circular prisms. So those are called cylinders. If I take a pyramid, so if you think about a pyramid, but making that bottom base circular, then we get a cone. So, I mean, literally, if you think of like what an ice cream cone looks like, an ice cream cone is called a cone because it's literally cone shaped. So if you think of like, you know, a waffle cone, waffle cones are actually cone shaped. And then we also have another circular 3D shape that you probably play with quite a lot. I know before we all started learning from home, you guys would play with them every day at recess. So anything that is ball shaped, the official geometry term for a ball shaped object is a sphere. So all three-dimensional objects can either be prisms, pyramids, cylinders, cones, or spheres. So those are the basic types of objects. So now, to put some pictures with this to help you actually picture, okay, great, I wrote down the words, but what do these actually look like? I'm going to zoom this out a little bit. So we've got some different shapes down here. So this shape, so we're going to go through each of these, and yours are on a slightly different order on your page, but that's okay. So the very first shape, we can look and see, I see a circle coming to a point. And we just said that looks kind of like a pyramid shape, but with a circular base. So a pyramid with a circular base is a cone. So that's what a cone is going to look like. Now this guy, I am going to actually kind of highlight. So I see two sides that are parallel to each other in this shape. So I see a side right here, and then this side right here. those sides are running parallel to each other. So that fits the two parallel congruent polygons. So that means that this is a prism. But I can take that a step further and I can name the prism based off of those parallel sides. So those two parallel sides are triangles. So that means that this is a prism, but I'm going to take it one step further and say that it is a triangular prism. So that's what we mean by having two parallel sides that are the same shape, and also naming it based off the shape of those sides. We also said in the definition up here, the remaining sides are all rectangles. So if you look through here, and it kind of come with a different color, so you can see that all the other sides are rectangles. So there's a rectangle, and then we've got another side right here that's a rectangle, and then we've got this kind of last top side here right there, that's also a rectangle. So you could see that all of the sides that are connecting those two parallel triangle sides are all rectangles. So it fits the definition of a prism. This next one, that looks like a ball. And we said that the official math name for a ball is actually a sphere. So that is a sphere. This one. So this guy, we have a bunch of triangles that are meeting at a point. So you can see 1, 2, there's one kind of on the back, 3, 4 different triangular sides that are all meeting up here at a point. And we said that when you have triangular sides that meet at a point right there, that meets the definition of a pyramid. So that means that this guy is a pyramid, but we can take that one step further and we could say what type of pyramid. So you could see the bottoms of the triangles. So there's the bottom of 1, 2. So you can see the bottoms of all 4 triangles where they meet, they kind of make this polygon down here. So whatever shape that is, that tells us how to name our pyramid. So it sort of looks square, but we don't know for sure if it actually is. So we're going to say a rectangle just to be safe. So we could say that this is a rectangular pyramid. And the last one, so this last one, it has two parallel sides. So we've got a side here and another side here. They are running parallel to each other, but they are circles. So we're kind of meeting the definition of a prism because we have two congruent parallel sides. But we said that when the bases of those two parallel sides are circular, then instead of calling it a prism, we call it a cylinder. So that means this is a cylinder. So that gives you an example of each of the different basic shapes and helps you to put a visual to go with some of the vocabulary. What you're going to do for your assignment today is you are just going to practice classifying some different shapes just so you can get comfortable with the vocabulary for different three-dimensional shapes.